The keg has been tapped. It was
The keg has been tapped. The keg has been tapped. Oh, Starr Cochran, this is why you are one of my favorite humans. What does the keg has been tapped mean?
So I had sex for the first time in like a year and a half or so. I mean, it
Okay.
had been a while,
And might I ask, what brought you out of the celibacy?
I just had a whole lot of different things going on in my life, and so sex wasn't high on the priority list. It wasn't like it was totally off the table, but kind of nobody had presented themselves, and so I was like, okay, it's whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done this before.
Yeah.
My longest was 2 years, which is hard to believe.
That feels like a long time.
That is a long time.
Yeah. But I can see why it's important, because sometimes it does like force you to really harness your energy and contain your body and really contain your energy. I didn't realize that when I first got divorced and I just busted out the gate and I was dating nonstop. I mean, just so much fun, like swinging from the chandeliers, and Stella was getting her groove back, you know? And I think I had a lot to prove to me, right? That so many people talked about singledom at 40 as though it was something tragic to talk about. And I was almost like hell-bent and determined to showcase how fun it could be. And it was. And I felt like 40 is that perfect age. I felt like that perfect age, but I can't wait to get your perspective on this, where I could date 26 one week and 56 the next, and genuinely have a real connection with both, because I'm, really kind of in the middle. How do you feel about that? Do you have a range?
I say that I love men of all ages. So it really depends on their energy, how active they are. I mean, clearly we all age differently. We mature differently, totally different, aging and maturity. And so, yes, I've met very mature 26-year-olds and so immature 60-something-year-olds. So it just depends on the person. And I love that. I think we should just be open to whoever and whatever. But I think that for me anyway, that if I'm seeing somebody, it's very distracting to me. And not that I don't love that distraction. Love sex, love all of that.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about it a lot. I would say that I'm kind of like wired like a man that way, that if I'm having sex regularly, it's like, oh my God, that was so good. And oh my God, I can't wait to have it again. And it just occupies so much of my headspace that it takes me away from writing or other endeavors.
Sure. Speaking of the writing and endeavors, author of 4 books, another in the process.
Yes.
Encroaching on your TED Talk, your first TED Talk.
Yes.
Starr Cochran. I like to use your full name because I just love your name so much.
Oh, thank you.
I want to know, who was Starr Cochran at 25?
25, I had just gotten married. I was a police officer in Tucson, fairly new to that. Shortly, maybe a few years after that, it was my first time being married, and it was good, and work was good. I loved my job. Felt like I was really making a difference in my community.
And let's back it up to, and only because I know the story, about being a police officer. Can you share a little bit with the audience just what it took and what it was like for you as a police officer?
So I came on at a time when women had not traditionally been hired to work the streets. They were hired as detectives. And then you had to have a college degree, and you went immediately into detectives, and then you worked family crime, for lack of a better term. So child abuse, rape, the sexual assaults and things like that. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to work the street, and back when I first wanted to be one, that was unheard of. So I was one of the first women to be hired to do that. And so there was a learning curve for the department. Um, I really, in so many ways, didn't know what to expect.
Right.
But
Sure.
it was.
I like how you said that, a learning curve for the department. It's that intuitively gives the department so much grace for literally learning how to treat another woman in the streets professionally, and not objectively.
They didn't know what to do with this, honestly. They were men who felt like they still needed to protect women, so I had to go through that. No, I got this. If I need help, I'll call just like anybody else. So, yes, it was a learning curve for them, and I was like the perfect person to help them along that path, I think.
I love that.
It
So
was
how long were you in the police force?
a little over 7 years,
Okay.
and it was time to move on. I think every person experience, whatever, has a timeline. So it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And for me, it was time to move on and do something else.
Have you always known or conceptually understood that beginning, middle, and end? Or were you one to drag your feet at the end and then had to learn the hard way to let it be the end and start a new beginning?
I think I always appreciated the transitory nature of everything. And if you adopt that philosophy, I think it's so much easier for you to deal with a lot of things that people come in and out of our lives for lots of different reasons. They stay for however long they do, and then we move on. And it's not good or bad, right or wrong. It just is what it is. And everything does come to an end eventually. So.
And I find that it's a challenge sometimes to come to peace with that. And I feel like that's where people find themselves stuck or lost or unfulfilled, or we kind of aspire for this happily ever after. And then once we get there, we forget, or maybe we're never even really taught how to continue to evolve ever after.
Right. So happy for me is giddy happy. It doesn't last very long. Long-term happiness, yes, can happen. We're happy with ourselves and we are at peace with ourselves. That makes you happy.
And how do you create that for you?
I have
because that doesn't just happen on accident. What I'm looking at right now and who I know very near and dear, that doesn't happen on accident. It happens very intentionally with a lot of autonomy and control and centeredness. I'm going to say maybe not control, but as much as autonomy. And so has that always existed in you? Like, was Starr at 5 years old also this determined and convicted?
And I think of me at 5, yes. My brother and I were really close. We played a lot outside. We explored. We were pretty kick-ass kids. Mom worked 2 jobs. Dad worked. And so we had to kind of fend for ourselves a lot. That was huge, though, and I really appreciate that lesson in that independence that Mom let us be kids and make our mistakes and make decisions. And so I love her, especially for that. And then kind of bringing it back around to the autonomy and all of that. I have a friend who has defied death like 36 times, whatever.
Wow.
And he says, unless something involves death or dying, let's work on it. Let's get over it. Let's keep this in perspective. Yeah. And it's a great philosophy to have. You can pick your battles. And for the most part, you control what you can control. And then you just got to let it go. There's a bigger plan that I'm not privy to. So you just have to always trust. You have to trust.
Yeah. Okay, so police force for 7 years, married for...
35 years.
Wow. Tell me about that. That's a chapter. That's a chapter. That's a whole book, Starr Cochran. That's a whole book.
Wow. Brad was a great guy. I think he's exactly who I needed in my life at the time. And I became a wife. And I don't know, somewhere along the way, I think I lost part of myself.
Tell me about that. I think that there's a lot of women in that space. I certainly also came into that space. You know, we're natural nurturers and we're natural mergers in so many ways. And that's how we expand everything and everyone that we're around. It's part of our superpower, but it can also be our kryptonite when we don't watch carefully and keep mindful of our own mind and body and soul and goals and aspirations. And so, I'd love to chat about that a bit because truly, I mean, this podcast is really about helping other women just get help and heal and transform their lives and get themselves unstuck and unfold and really giving them permission to grow and evolve into their next chapter. And what I love about having you here today is that you've lived so many beautiful chapters and genuinely beautiful chapters, like really incredible. And I think that we all have something that we can learn from the grace and the conviction that you've taken throughout your life and how it's continuing to evolve, right? There's another book on the way. There's TED Talk around the corner. You're really embracing this whole new world of your star power, like your actual star rising, because, your voice and your mind and your soul and your heart is going to really help a lot of people.
Well, to speak to a couple of things, I couldn't have said it better myself when you touched on the fact that because we are by nature nurturers, and Brad was not proactive with his health, and so he felt like he could do anything he wanted to, and somebody would fix it. I would fix it, the doctors would fix it, or whatever. So what happens is that yes, we fill that role. We go in, and I was his caregiver, and he had a heart attack at 41. He had a brain aneurysm at 51. And I'll tell you what, not sure I wanted to stick around for 61, and I didn't. Just wasn't sure I didn't want to do that again, okay, because he was not doing his part. Okay, so I think a lot of women can get stuck in that role, and along the way, then they are negating, setting aside their dreams and who they are. So what I've kind of put into words recently is that when we're in a long-term relationship, we tend to have our life, and somewhere our individual lives get separated, and we lose part of ourselves, for lack of a better term. And I mean, we hear it a lot, but I really felt in my marriage, I lost a huge part of me because I was married and I was in this collective life. And
you were in the we. Lost in the we.
I was. Until I had a hug from a man. It's one of my stories. I went to go see a friend in New Mexico. He invites another friend to join us. It's very innocuous. The man gets up. I could say that I thought he was charismatic. He had a swagger. He had it going on. And But anyway.
He was giving you the feels. He was waking up your body in different ways.
Well, I didn't know it till he gave me a hug. And he just gave me a hug goodbye. And I went, what the hell was that? I mean, I started feeling, like, what was any of that? And yeah, I have to say that I didn't know what to do about that. I had feelings. And I'm thinking, who's this? This guy wasn't. And I got his phone number. I texted him and I said, I find you attractive and I want to have an affair with you.
Wow.
And I'm here to tell you, 35 years, not so much looked at another man. So this was huge for me. And, looking back on it, it was something was broken. And of course, the affair was not going to fix the marriage. There was something wrong with the marriage.
Yeah.
And just like that, I decided I was getting divorced.
And so how long into the affair? Or at the same moment?
The funny thing is, because he lived in New Mexico and I did not, we didn't consummate that for like 5 months later. It wasn't about having the affair with him.
Sure.
It was the message I got.
And what was the message?
My body had been dead. I had been dead. And I just I want to feel like this more. And
like this excitement, this adrenaline, this aliveness.
Yes. So, soon after that, I told Brad we were getting divorced, and I became a vibrant, funny, entertaining, vivacious woman that
immediately?
Pretty quickly, yes. There was a guy who came into my life, Crazy Jack, and he was like the perfect person I needed at the time to kind of get me back out there again.
Yeah.
And he was very childlike in many ways. So it was a lot of fun. I had fun.
Wow. And I think that sometimes you forget to have fun, to play, to connect to that inner child. I can totally relate. I mean, after my divorce, I think that's where the chapter of 26 came from. It was like everybody I dated in the first year pretty much after my divorce were 26. And what was that? I was like, as soon as I met somebody, I'm like, let me guess.
You're 26.
And it was like that. It was just fun. They didn't need anything from me. They didn't want anything from me. I didn't have to perform. They respected my drive. And they just picked me up and took me out on an adventure. And I think that sometimes we forget, men and women forget to let ourselves just do that and be just playful and unassuming and adventurous. And, for me, it was very similar in the end of my marriage. I would say the last several years of my marriage, where it just started to be a slow decline of that adventure. And it started to feel like I was needing to start producing the adventure. Mm-hmm. So we used to adventure and just go out and play and have fun. And then it started to be like, what are we doing and where are we going? And then I was planning trips, and I was planning nights out, and I was planning date nights, and I was curating our adventure meticulously. I mean, my husband was having a blast.
No doubt.
I was also having a blast, but it wasn't feeding that same adventurous, part of me. And it wasn't until I started traveling for work that I started to feel like I had that freedom to adventure again. I started to create my work trips in silos. So the work part was work, but I would buffer my trips so that I could adventure and I could decompress before I came home. I could, maybe get the lay of the land before I started my trip, and it gave me that little taste of freedom that allowed me to feel something again. And then what really started to manifest after that is that so many people started to get to know that part of me. Right? So then when I'm out adventuring and I'm meeting people at this restaurant or that bar, or just walking down a street or whatever, they're meeting this whimsical, fun Melissa that, some people really only thought they knew, but they knew the curated version, right? And very quickly they would start to depend on me creating those experiences over and over and over again. And so I didn't realize that was becoming a problem. I actually loved it for a long time because I thought that was my purpose and that was my superpower. And in so many ways it is, but it still then became about me producing that for other people and not about me experiencing that for myself. And so it's a constant effort for me, even now that I've even been single for 3 years, to constantly stay connected to that whimsical nature and give myself space and time to go and just explore on my own.
100%. I felt exactly the same way with Brett. I felt like I was the social director when we were together. That gets exhausting. So yes, fun, but still, again, you're still losing part of yourself, I think.
Yeah.
And so when I got divorced, I learned to have fun again. So I believe 100% we should look at every day as a new adventure. No 2 days should ever look the same. It's one of the things I loved about being a street cop is that I tend to get bored easily. So I could show up every day and it was a new adventure. Something different was going to happen every single day. Well, we have the ability to make that happen. Yeah. So you show up with a playful attitude, and it doesn't matter what it is. I was at Walmart yesterday and saw my favorite greeter. Her name is Debbie. She has this delightful smile. She just made my day. She's just fun. I just enjoy seeing her.
Yeah.
You know what? It doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be a whole day of fun little things that make you smile and make your day.
My favorite thing to do in the morning, and I tend to reserve Sundays to myself with or without my kids, where I get up in the morning and I just go out and I either intuitively go left or right on my bike or my scooter, typically, and I follow green lights. And then I just see what I find, right? And see what comes up. So if I find myself in a certain area and I'm like, oh, I feel like I heard about a place down here, and I look it up and then I go to that place. Or maybe I don't pull out my phone all day long. Maybe I'm listening to audiobooks, maybe I'm listening to music, but that real, like, just constant connection with just what do I want to do right now? Because I also found that was a big step for me in this new chapter was, what do I want? And I had my friend Sue ask me, after my divorce, after I lost my job, after, my whole world had been sort of shut down and I was starting fresh. She's like, so well, what do you want? I had no idea how to answer that question. And it was overwhelming to answer that question and almost like irritating. That question irritated me because I'm like, I don't know. I just know what I don't want. And that's that and that and that. It was that, that constant deselection. Mm-hmm. And then that left me in a space of solitude for a long time. Then the chapter of the 26. Then what you realize is that you start to channel different pieces of you and you're like, oh, that's that joy. Oh, that's the peace. And I like what you said earlier, that you said it's not always like elated happiness. That's so temporary.
It is.
But it's really the peace.
It's the peace
and the freedom.
Honoring that and the freedom. And so, dialing back into what you were talking about and finding what brings you joy. So if you get stuck, I say then try something that you've never done before. Like I always say, when you're stuck, get off the couch, go do something physical like you do. You get out on the scooter or the bike and go on an adventure and see where that leads you. Or you take a class, a creative class. And if you don't think you're an artist, it doesn't matter. Art is never about the product. It's about the process. So go. What you'll find is that you're going to tap into parts of you that maybe you didn't even know you had. Take a dance class. I took tango and salsa and all of that. Again, it's moving, it's music, it's meeting new people. It's you might be surprised at the joy that you get from things like that.
Amen. I'm doing a fun heels class with Paula for my birthday tomorrow. You should come join.
Nice.
That would be so fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So when did you learn that you were a writer? When did this become, when did one book become 4 that's becoming 5?
Well,
because
back when I was a financial advisor, so after I left the police department, I got into the financial world, and I had a good friend who said, I should learn about money, but unless it's in a novel, I'll never get it. And I went, Financial novel. Interesting. Women generally like to read, they like a good story. So it took a year to figure out how to write a financial novel. So the first one is Bread and Butter Chronicles, about 4 women who get together and learn about money. They're in different financial and personal situations, and they each solve their challenges in different ways. Then, that led to the next one, which was the sequel, Doe Rising. And it was supposed to be a trilogy, but I don't think I have.
Doe Rising.
Doe Rising. I don't think I have the wherewithal to dial back into the third one. But anyway, so that's how it started. And then, I don't know, this new fun part of me, it seems like I talk about sex a lot. It's become very important to me. And money has always been important to me. So then the financial O was born.
And the financial O came into my life the week that I was like literally praying, frustrated, beating my pillow at my house, just like, God, I need to learn about money. And I don't know anything about money. And nobody knows that I don't know anything about money because I was married to a man who was really good with money. So it looked like I had a lot of money and I knew what to do with money. But I didn't. I actually had very low self-value, very challenged in asking for money and charging for work. I spent decades doing things for free, hoping that people would eventually just make things right. And turns out that's not at all how it works. And I'm like, no, I need somebody to talk to me like a kindergartner or meet me where I am. And literally the financial O comes into my life as you walk into my studio. And it's so incredible. And I'm going to say it's so incredible because there's so much shame and humiliation and control around money for women, particularly. And to create something that really does lower the threshold, lower the barrier of entry, lower the emotional blocks as it relates to money. Even opening the book for the first time, I started to get anxiety because I had a lot of anxiety around money, and so it was sitting in that. I just was conscious of that feeling. So I would curate the experience around me. I'd grab my tea, I'd create my space so that I could open it. And then getting into the reading of it, it's so fun. And the way that you talk about how to make money, how to charge for money, how to invest money, how to manage money, and really how to make it work for you.
That's the premise of the book is simplistically, there's only 4 ways to make money. You work for yourself, you work for somebody else, you invest in real estate, or you invest in securities. That's it. But for each of us, it's a journey discovering which one of or which ways are going to work best for us because we're all wired differently. We have different interests. And then along each of these continuums, you can be as involved or not involved as you want to be. But it's really discovering who you are financially so that you can make money and you can have fun with it. And again, it's all about having the fun. If making money or investing money is not fun, then it's not for you. That way is not for you.
I actually really thoroughly enjoyed even the chapter about working with somebody, being in a relationship. Because it's true. And I think that it really does encourage others to show up intentionally with the people that they work with, with that in mind, with that relationship in mind.
It's very important to find that right fit. So yeah, we can't do a lot of this on our own. We need others. But finding that good fit for you, whether you're in a business or you're looking for a financial advisor, it's important to do your homework in that because it's a huge.
So I'd like to just give the reader just a little taste so that they know why they're ordering this book immediately, if not sooner.
Okay.
What gets your heart racing, buckles your knees, then makes you want to get on top and ride it for all it's worth? While we may have discovered what that means to us sexually, the same kind of excitement is possible when you get in sync with your financial mojo. As with lovemaking, your financial journey begins with self-exploration. Chapter 1 contains a couple of questionnaires. One asks you to indicate how you feel about the 4 ways to make money, and the second asks you to feel about the problem, solving and creativity, risk, stress, motivation. By examining how you align with these areas, you can first determine which avenues get you excited, then how to personalize these methods to increase your chances of reaching your financial climax. The whole book, ladies and gentlemen who's listening to this, the whole book is like that. And it's fun and airy and also incredibly informative. And you know what I took it as a guide for areas where I found myself more confused, to lean into that, and then you can start knowing what to research. Because here's the thing, when you don't know what you don't know, you don't even know what questions to ask. So if you've never understood why there are 27 different types of LLCs, maybe I'm exaggerating there, but not knowing really how to have that conversation, it's just, you give sort of the cliff notes, and then you can take any of these concepts and then dive deeper, because now you can let it generate questions for you. Similar, like you say, to exploring your body, right?
Exactly.
Like you get a certain button pushed and you notice like, wow, I kind of like that. I didn't know that I would like that, but I kind of like that. You know, like I didn't think to ask for that, but now I want to know what else is out there.
Well, and I want to do that more.
Right, right.
Yes, indeed. So I liked, calling it the Cliff Notes. So through this self-exploration, you're reading the book, then you say, well, you know, that whole real estate thing. Yeah, I think I like kind of real estate, but I didn't know there were so many different ways to invest in it. And so now I want to look a little bit more into rehabbing. I've watched a lot of HGTV, so maybe I want to do the fix and flips thing. So I'm going to do more research. I may go to a workshop. It just gets you started.
That's right. You're so right. And that's really what's so liberating. And I want to bring it back to sex as well. It's because I think that women ought to explore both. What is it that inspires them and motivates them financially? And what is it that inspires them and fuels them and energizes them sexually?
I'm on board for both of those. Those are like my 2 favorite topics on the planet.
And truly, so has it always been? When did Starr Cochran learn that she was good with money?
I always had a sense that I would never have to worry about money. It was a known to me. So there was never any fear about money. And I give it up for Mom. We were wired very much the same way. Mom was incredible with money. She was an entrepreneur.
Wow.
She invested in a mutual fund. That was another funny story that she had totally forgot about. And fast forward many decades later, after she was divorced, a $50 investment had turned out to be, I think it was just like $8,000. So Mom just had a good business sense, a good way with money. And so maybe just hanging out with her and just being very comfortable with money.
Mm-hmm.
I've just
and
been
sex
comfortable.
Too?
Mom was a very sexual being. Yes.
Go Mom.
She had a couple of younger lovers in her life. One of...
I'm noticing a theme here.
Yeah.
With like our conversation.
Yes. We
younger
have
lovers and yeah.
Yeah. So Mom, I knew of one, but I did not know about the other one till much later in life. We're sitting there having cocktails one day, and she tells me about this other one, and I went, we've never talked about him before.
What was Mom's name?
Dottie.
Oh, stop. Dottie was my stepdad's mom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Her name was Dorothy, but everybody called her Dottie.
Yeah.
And yes, you could look at pictures of her back in her 30s. I'm here to tell you, it's crazy. Like, we even had the same scoop neck dress on for the photo. Crazy.
Wow.
I know. It's really crazy.
It's such a beautiful thing. It actually is making me think as a mother, right? The influence that we have over our children and with our children is so powerful. You know, I look at my youngest, and she was here at the studio the other day for my book launch. And to see her, she asked to speak. She asked to come on stage. She was so just authentic and in her own voice, you know, like she just had no reservations. And I just thought, wow, like what what a gift, you know, to be so ostentatious and to be like have that conviction to grab a mic and speak to a group of strangers, you know, at 9 years old, and with humor. And I just thought, if I had stayed in my hole, would she be learning how to do this?
And I say kudos to you as mom, because you have given her a great role model, and that's part of one of our roles as a parent is to give them their voice, to give them their ability to be who they are, and you are doing a great job with her.
And truly, that starts with us.
Yes.
You know, I've spent so much time as a mother. I became a mother at 17 years old, so I have been a mother my entire adult life. And it's not in what we teach them, it's in what we show them.
100%.
It's how we're embodying ourselves. So if you want smart, successful, ambitious, you know, autonomous, independent, passionate, playful, respectful humans, you have to be all of those things. And if you, and that does sometimes involve a lot of like introspection and reflection and accountability on yourself to, you know, hold your ego in check. You know, when I heard my son tell my ex-husband that he's not a money guy, I felt like my heart sank into my chest. Because he didn't get that from his father.
Right.
He got that from me. And I knew, oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, no, no. Maxwell, we are money people. And we all are, right? Like we all have the capacity to earn. And
Yes.
there's no shame in that. And so I realized the narrative that he was already creating around money. And so I prayed about it, and I was like, okay, like help me embody this so that I can teach this. Because I can teach my kids about money, but if I'm not learning about money simultaneously, they're going to witness more than they're going to learn. And so that's really, I mean, that's when Financial O came into the picture. I picked up a couple of other clients in the studio that all talk about investments and, you know, 1,000,000 ways to make $1 million, and just the fun and playful aspect too to big business, Phoenix founders, all these different people that are coming into the studio that are talking about money and business and, you know, investments and community and all of that. And it's really just amazing that sometimes when you just put it out there and ask for the education, and it comes back full
Money
force.
should be fun, and we need money for lots of different reasons, but let's have some fun with it. Let's enjoy it. It's not an evil thing. It's a very fun thing. It just opens up so many opportunities for us to enjoy our lives better. Does it give us a better life? But it helps us with more options, more opportunities that when we're always struggling, wondering where the next rent payment's going to come from, not good energy, not a good place to be.
Yeah, so you talk about the 4 different ways to make money, essentially. Obviously, you talk even in the book that there are other ways, but those are outliers. What is your favorite of the 4? Or what's your combination that you enjoy the most?
You know, I've done a lot in real estate, so the chapter on real estate, you know, that's the one that really kind of gets me hot and bothered. I've done fix and flips. I've had rentals. I've done notes. I still have a couple of deeds of trust that I hold. And so, yeah, I think it speaks to my creativity. When I was doing the fix and flips, I could see that ugly duckling becoming this beautiful place for somebody to live. So it kind of checks a lot of boxes for me.
I seem to agree, actually. I mean, since I got my first place right after grad school, and it was a total fixer-upper. And I was dating a contractor at the time, so I thought, this is perfect. I can renovate it, and it's all great. It was perfect until I broke up with said contractor in the middle of my construction where I didn't even have walls. I was like studs, living on concrete and living in the home. And so no bathroom. I mean, really, just a toilet. Showered outside for 3 months. I built my own kitchen. I barbecued. I learned how to barbecue anything and everything on a Weber, because this is the land before the electric barbecues at that point were very, very expensive. And I mowed my own yard. It was like almost 2 acres with a push mower. And when he moved out, it was like, okay, I've got to figure this out. And there was a piece of it that I think about that chapter, and it was not miserable. I don't know how it wasn't miserable, but it wasn't miserable. I really enjoyed the process. I taped and mudded the house myself. I textured the walls myself. I had help putting cabinets and granite in, but everything else, I mean, my mom and I spent countless hours painting both the inside and outside of that home. And by the time I left that house, it was like, wow, I did that. And it was creative, and it was cute, and it was fun. And then the physical part of me, I got really a great workout in, and it really was my first sort of vantage point that you can create something out of nothing, and that you can use your creativity doing it. And that sweat equity. I learned very quickly that maybe I didn't have all the money, but I had a work ethic and the capacity to work my ass off. And so if somebody would give me a chance to put some sweat equity into a project, I could do that.
Well, and plus you were learning all the way. And so I think that's invigorating. I love to learn new things. So my philosophy is you need to learn something new every day and move every day. So you were learning a lot. And during the rehabs, I did as well. I was doing a rehab with a friend of mine, and we were doing some tile. Now, he had tiled his whole house at one time. So I just assumed he was going to tile this little teeny kitchen. He goes, oh, no, we're going to tile. What? What? No, I don't know.
With the spacers and everything? Oh, man, that is a...
So he showed me how to tile. So I know how to tile now.
Yeah. And sometimes it's about knowing it well enough so that later on you can manage it. I had my next renovation was with my now ex-husband, but when we lived in North Scottsdale, we bought this house, and it needed so much work. But I remember thinking, like, this is actually nothing compared to the project I had just done. I'm like, this is a little drywall, some backsplash.
You got this.
And it started with just changing the backsplash because it was horrendous. And I thought, we don't have to renovate the whole house. We can just do the backsplash. But then the backsplash turned into having to replace the wall. And then once you have to replace part of the wall, then you have to replace the paint. The paint was too old to match. So now you're painting. But if you're going to paint like a 6,000 square foot house, you also better replace the flooring because you're not going to be able to replace the floor after you paint because it'll wreck. Anyway, so there was this whole steps situation. So before you knew it, I was in a renovation and we were in business. So my husband was traveling a bunch at the time. And I remember saying to him, we were going back and forth on all these things and bringing contractors in and getting quotes. And it was that typical going back to my husband, going back to the contractor, going back to the husband, going back. And I thought, I'm not doing this. I know how to renovate a home. I have renovated a home from the foundation. I need a budget, and I want the cash in the safe, and I want the autonomy to make all of the decisions. So when the contractors are talking to me, they're not waiting to talk to you. And so we did it. And we set up a budget for it and set up cash for it. And I was able to negotiate so much more effectively. And it gave me such a thrill. And, you know, your book reminded me of that. And I thought, well, shit, I've been giving it to the man, you know, and I need to go out and, you know, get back involved in this. Like, I think that's my language. I lost my ass in the stock market, absolutely having no clue what to do. I mean, literally lost my ass. And then I did exactly what you're not supposed to do. And that's that I sold everything. And then that was a permanent loss at that point, not realizing that you can actually stay in it and, you know, also get help and support. And I didn't know how to get that either. Do I go to a bank for someone to help me with my stock? I have no idea. I had no clue. So I realized your book really jogged up so much inspiration on, oh, okay, so when I get the next opportunity to even do some sweat equity or to get involved in some real estate, I'd really love to do that. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're so welcome. I mean, that's part of it. And I mean, I was in the stock market for a while when I was doing the financial advising, and now it's just not my thing. And I just discovered that about myself. I sleep at night being in a cash position. It offers me many opportunities, of course, being in a cash position. I don't have to worry about what the market is doing today. It's just, that's my piece.
Sure.
With that.
Right.
So it's all in discovering what's going to put you at peace, what you like to do, and then go with that. And to hell with anybody else and their judging. It's your life. You decide. If they want to do something different, great, go do that.
Yeah.
But don't tell me what to do. I got this.
Yeah.
You got this.
The alchemy of desire. I want to talk about that.
Okay.
Because I feel like, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the alchemy of desire is really the next metamorphosis.
Yes.
Of Starr Cochran.
It is.
So what is the alchemy of desire?
So we change so much throughout the many years of our lives. I'm at a point in my life at 70, been on this planet a long time and seen a few things and done a few things. What I've realized is that the love, sex, and money changes over life. But what's important to us financially, sexually, romantically at 20, so different at 70. It's not good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just different. And I think there's so many opportunities to embrace that as opposed to fighting it. So I see when I was out there dating some of these guys, man, I can't speak for the women, but I can certainly speak for the men, still holding on to who they were, what they did, how they could perform in their 20s and 30s, that they just can't. And it just is going to happen.
And that's also okay.
It's totally okay, but it offers other opportunities. Yes, we need to be a little bit more creative. We get to do some exploration. We have some time now that perhaps we didn't have when we were in our 20s, 30s, 40s. We're still building families and careers and stuff, so we're still a little unfocused. We've got different desires in 40s. When we get into our 50s, things are starting to really shift in love, sex, and money. So instead of, in the money sense, instead of accumulating, that's kind of what we're doing. 50s, we have our eye on retirement. So it means that maybe our accumulation stage is waning and we need to accumulating stuff, I should say. Then we should be accumulating money. An exit strategy from the work life that we had known. We can still work and we can still be active. It's just going to look different. Mm-hmm. We look for different things when it comes to love as we age. When we're in our 20s, we're looking at starting families and we're all giddy and silly and stupid. And then we mature and we want the companionship. We want someone to be there for us. Yeah. And certainly sexually, a lot of stuff is happening all the time. But when we get, at least to my age, in our 60s, I say that we have more time to spend with one another. And before, when we were raising families and trying to juggle work schedules, and we'd get in a quickie when we could, now we could spend hours just enjoying one another. We reach climax, we get to our I'm a huge fan, but maybe it's just about being with one another and that enjoyment. So
yeah, that connection,
the connection,
that real deep emotional connection.
yes. So we're kind of going more from the totally physical part, and not that we didn't have some sort of a connection back in our earlier years, but as we're aging, it's about the connection versus the performance. So again, if we can let go of what that looked like, how we were performing when we were younger, I think there's an opportunity to embrace a whole new, deeper spiritual, a total connection with somebody.
I love that you're saying that, because I feel like I'm in sort of that shift right now myself at almost 42 tomorrow. I'm feeling like, I've always heard the word tantric, and I always thought that was like just this crazy, amazing electric sex. No.
No.
And really, it's just this slowing everything down, and truly that connection. Because it's what I learned that I was yearning for the most in my marriage, in my, my whole life, has been just, I wanted that emotional, available, connection. And what I've really learned over the last several years was that started with me sort of excavating my own emotional depth and accepting and loving and honoring and respecting that in myself, because I couldn't possibly hold space for a man to be vulnerable and emotionally connected if I wasn't going to also show up differently, And that really has been my focus over the last several years, is not only in my play, not only in my education and awareness around how to create autonomy, but also in my sexual and sensual exploration within myself, so that I know what I'm calling in and I know what I want. And so, the age of 26 has evolved, right? And I don't know what the age is. I've had incredible emotional, mental, spiritual connections with 30-year-olds that were just old souls, and with 50-year-olds. I don't know if it's necessarily an age thing. Maybe you can shine some light on your experience with that. But I find that it's very individual, that, really I crave that connection. You can be the most beautiful human I've ever seen, but if I'm not feeling emotionally and spiritually and mentally connected, I'm not even attracted.
So you're absolutely right in the fact that, I was talking earlier about, it's not about age or maturity. They're very different. So just as you were saying, you could have a chronologically young person, but they're an old soul and they're very mature, and you feel that connection. You just feel really comfortable with them. And then you can be with, a 60-year-old who is still acting like he's 16, which in certain ways, when you're playing, super fun. Because I dated a guy, and I think he was 6 years younger than me, but I loved his whimsical attitude towards life, and we had a lot of fun. Now, could he get down to business? And he has a great business mind. When it was work, and he was on it. But what a great combination.
Amazing.
To be able to flip between that. Something we all should aspire to,
Sure.
is that when it's time to work, let's get some business done. But absolutely, what does play look like for you?
Yeah.
And it's important.
That
And
balance.
also getting down to, I think what we crave is the intimacy. So sex is part of that intimacy. It is a physical connection, but it's also all of the intimacy is all of those connections coming together. emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, energetically, physically, it all kind of comes together. And I think as we age, and if we've done our own work so that we know who we are, we're better able to decide what it is that we're looking for and what does that person look like coming into our lives. So I don't like to say that somebody completes us. We're already complete.
Amen.
But we bring
Amen.
someone to share our life with, whatever that looks like, whether that be marriage, and you and I have talked about marriage. Not a huge fan, but again, that's just my opinion.
Right? Works for some people.
But whatever your relationship looks like for you, whatever's going to work for you. And it's only after we've done the work and we know ourselves, I think, that we can better define it and find it.
Oh, I couldn't say it better myself. It's actually, to me, just listening to you, even the way that you just verbalized that and communicated it, it really, it creates peace for me, because it really does bring you back to your center. And then it's about attracting like-minded souls.
And that will happen. So when we are confident in ourselves and we know who we are, energetically, we don't even know we're doing it, but we're putting that out there. And then it's interesting who shows up. So if you have a good attitude, got a smile on your face, I always say you lead with kindness. Sometimes that's hard, but I say you lead with kindness. And I have people coming up to me all the time and engaging me in conversations. And I'm thinking, it's just because I'm happy. Yeah. I'm smiling. I'm happy to be doing whatever I'm doing. It's the joy that you have of your daily adventure, whatever that is.
So for the audience member that's watching, listening, and in sort of the muck, maybe they're in that space where they're just feeling lost and disconnected from their partner. Maybe they're feeling unfulfilled at work. Maybe they're feeling confused and embarrassed. Maybe they're in debt. Maybe they're just in that moment of like, I don't know how to even get there. Like, that feels so far away from where I'm at. What do you say to them?
Wow, what a huge question. If they want to reach out to me, happy to spend pro bono, 30 minutes talking with them on the phone.
You're inviting them to happy hour?
It always comes back. And you're a huge fan, and I know that whatever you give always comes back
100%.
a million times.
Yeah.
So I get it. I mean, I've been there on several different levels, different times in my life. So
seek insight.
Pardon me?
Seek insight.
Yes. So
get support.
Find somebody who might be able to help you. Maybe that's a close friend. Maybe you want to talk to a therapist, depending on whatever is going on in your life. I think I'm a pretty good problem solver. I do look at the big picture. I can kind of nail things down fairly quickly, especially financially. Whatever else is going on, I could just give them a quick look-see and give them my 2 cents worth of, and maybe be able to direct them in something to do, somebody else to talk to.
Yeah.
Happy to do that.
That's so sweet of you, so kind of you to offer. And definitely to the audience, like, take full advantage of this offer. Anytime with Starr Cochran is just like an elevating experience. I really feel like if I've told you this before when I came over for happy hour, it was like it had been a long time since I felt just so like invigorated and connected with somebody. Like, we have so much in common, and just the way that we approach life and love and money and all the things, it's like you've inspired a deeper understanding in a lot of directions in a lot of these things, but also so much like affirmation.
Thank you.
That like I've made a lot of really hard but good decisions, and that even through some of my biggest mistakes, as we might want to refer to them, they were all soul defining and shifted my trajectory in a way that allows me to speak openly and honestly about what it means to reinvent yourself.
And it's not, I mean, and you bring up a good point about the mistakes. There are no mistakes. It's just something that happened. And then you decide what you're going to do with that. And we're humans. I mean, we don't make perfect decisions all the time, but I say every decision has a good outcome. I know when it's happening, it may feel like a shit show and that you're not going to get anything out of this, and sometimes it just takes a while.
But you always will.
But you always will find, I'm always that silver lining woman. So if you're looking for the silver lining, I'm the person to hopefully help you discover that.
I love that. And I agree with you. I think that sometimes our biggest pain and our biggest shame is where we need to lean in the most.
Yes.
Because that's where we have the opportunity to reparent ourselves, to nurture ourselves, to love ourselves more unconditionally, and that we actually don't have to stick in the shame or guilt or fear and feel like let that weigh us down. We can liberate ourselves.
Well, and sometimes what we fail to recognize is that because we're the main actor in our own play, our own show, and we always think that everything is about us. And sometimes the lesson is that we are the catalyst for somebody else. So sometimes,
That part.
guess what? It's not about us. It's a lesson that somebody else needs to learn through us.
Amen. And you never miss, my favorite quote, you never miss an opportunity to make somebody's day.
I say that all the time. And like I said, Debbie at Walmart, I mean, she just makes my day. And I always...
That's funny because I have a Pearl at Sprouts. Her son is the same birthday as mine.
Oh, my goodness.
And he's since passed, but he loved pistachio ice cream.
Oh.
So she and I just have this, and I also love pistachio. It's my favorite ice cream.
Oh.
So it's funny that her son, who she lost, has my same birthday, same ice cream that we both love. Like all these little synchronistic things. And every time I go into Sprouts, we share a big hug and chat and catch up. And
so 5 minutes, a couple minutes out of your day can make somebody else's day.
Amen.
And I make it my goal to, if I meet you, to remember your name, so that when I walk in to see you again, I'm going to call you by name. And I don't care who it is. It's so important that we recognize each other as a person, as opposed to this person doing a job, because that's not who they are. And I like to tell a story. I volunteered at a hospital for a number of years. And of course, I spoke with hundreds of people. I didn't remember all of them. But after I left there, I had a couple of them reach out to me on social media. And they said, just wanted to tell you how much your time with us meant to us.
Wow.
Now, I don't know what I was talking about. It didn't matter. I sat with them, looked them in the eyes, listened to them for just a few minutes. And it's huge. People want to be heard and they want to be recognized. If you can give 5 minutes of your time, and it's a blessing for us at the same time, it's a win-win as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that is how I feel about this conversation and today's episode. I see you, I hear you, I feel you. I just love you so very much. And so thank you so much for being here. And for anyone watching and listening, be sure to look up all of Starr's books. Just absolutely incredible. And get your financial O in order. Connect with your alchemy of desire. And I can't wait for the next book. And I really can't wait for this TED Talk, Sex Over 50.
Yes, the best sex is over 50.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you.